It is the year 1968. Czechoslovakia has just been invaded by Warsaw Pact troops. Shots echo through the streets of Prague, and chaos begins to unfold. Europe once again feels the tension of a divided world. And at that very moment, roughly 600 kilometers to the south, another decision is being made. Josip Broz Tito, the leader of Yugoslavia, and far from a friend of Stalin, makes a bold move. He orders the rapid activation of the unfinished Željava Air Base, a project that had already cost an estimated $5 billion, which would be roughly 40 to 50 billion euros today, and is considered one of the largest military construction projects in Europe after the Second World War. Construction had started back in 1948 and lasted nearly 20 years. Yet even during its completion, the base was already becoming obsolete. It had been designed to withstand a nuclear blast comparable to Hiroshima or Nagasaki, around 20 kilotons. But by the late 1960s, nuclear weapons had already far surpassed that level of destructive power. At its peak, the base housed more than 50 MiG-21 fighter jets, more than all former Yugoslav countries combined operate today. The base is located about 130 kilometers south of Zagreb, right on the border between Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Quite literally, some of its exits lead you into one country, others into the second. And somewhat ironically, the only time fighter jets ever flew real combat missions from here was during the Yugoslav Wars, when they were striking targets in Croatia and Bosnia. This continued until 1992, when Serbian-controlled Yugoslav army units withdrew from the base. To prevent it from ever being used again, they destroyed most of it with massive explosions. So, if you're planning to visit and explore parts of the more than 3 kilometers of underground tunnels, we definitely recommend going with a guided tour, like we did. It helps you avoid two major problems: getting lost in the tunnels and dealing with the police. The area is actively monitored due to border control, with cameras in place. In fact, we personally encountered patrols here twice. And one more thing. If you're thinking about coming here, sooner is better than later. There are plans to build a migrant camp nearby, and honestly, it's unclear whether access to the base might be fully restricted in the future. Even today, it is still possible to find documents inside the base, fragments of the past, records of names, of people who once lived and worked here. Around 200 personnel would regularly enter the base through one of its 4 massive entrances. The entire complex is carved deep into the mountain, and walking above it is strongly discouraged, as the surrounding areas have never been fully cleared of landmines. But when we talk about the people who served here, coming from all parts of Yugoslavia, the stories become even more fascinating. During the war, there were incidents that almost sound like scenes from a movie. One of them happened on October 25, 1991. A Croatian pilot, Rudolf Perishin, refused to bomb Croatian targets. Instead, he took off in a MiG-21 and defected. Since all nearby airfields were under Yugoslav control, he flew to Austria and landed in Klagenfurt. Just a few months later, on February 4, 1992, another pilot made a similar decision. Danijel Borovic, who was partly trusted because of his Serbian connections, seized his moment. He took a MiG-21 and flew it to Pula, an airport already under Croatian control. With that single aircraft, he effectively helped lay the foundation of the Croatian Air Force. And speaking of the MiG-21, even during the war, these jets were already considered outdated. One of the reasons newer aircraft were never deployed here was surprisingly simple: the base's massive blast doors. They were designed for aircraft with a single vertical stabilizer, a single tail fin. Modern fighter jets, with twin vertical stabilizers, simply would not fit without major reconstruction. But before any modernization could happen, the base was destroyed.